It's got this new processor, it's got some cool new camera setups and stuff like that as well. It's got tons of RAM, like there's lots and lots of stuff to talk about, but the big headline feature here is what's on the box here, because what's on the box is this co-developed with Hasselblad. And if you're not familiar with Hasselblad as a camera company, they are pretty heavy hitters, and OnePlus is going big, you know, co-developed. It's all over the box, that Hasselblad branding. So as someone that doesn't really know what they're doing with cameras or anything like that at all, we partnered with a professional photographer, Adam from First Man Photography, and he is going to take you through all the cool stuff that you'll need to know when it comes to you know, getting the best from the OnePlus 9 Pro. So let's have a look.
Hi, I'm Adam, and in this video we're going to unbox the new OnePlus 9 Pro, and I want to give you a few tips and tricks, simple things that anybody can do to transform your snapshots into beautiful photographs that really have that wow factor. Now, when 3 got in touch and they asked me to have a go with this camera, I thought, yeah, that sounds great, but I'm a professional landscape photographer. So the only natural place for me to do that is out and about in the landscape. So we're going to go to somewhere beautiful, have a little walk around and see what we can do with this new phone. But first, we need to get into the box and have a look at it. So here we have the OnePlus 9 Pro, and I'm excited about this because of this one little sentence just here, which says co-developed with Hasselblad. Now, Hasselblad are probably the biggest name in camera manufacturing for forever, as long as I can remember, and they make some utterly amazing cameras, and they've co-developed this phone. Let's just have a quick look at what's in the box. We've got a charger, a fast charger by the looks of it, which is nice, yeah, and a cable, and let's just move the box aside. Then we have the main event, which is the phone. Let's just take this plastic off. It comes with a case as well, which is quite nice, but let's now have a look. And it's a beautiful looking phone. It's got a big 6.7-inch display, which is AMOLED, and it's also at 120 Hertz, which is really nice, and it makes you scrolling as you're going through Instagram. It's all very smooth and looks great. But it's these cameras on the back here that I'm interested in. We've got the main one, which is a 48 megapixel camera, and then the ultra wide one, which is 50 megapixel. Now, ultra wide cameras are great for landscape photography because they allow you to capture that big wide vista. So I'm excited to see what this can do. It's 5G, it has a 4,500 milliamp hour battery, so it's going to last you all day. It's also dust and weather sealed. Well, that's going to be good for me because I spend a lot of time photographing out and about in very bad weather. Yeah, I'm excited to use this and see what this Hasselblad and OnePlus collaboration can do. So let's go out and about and find some things to photograph. Now for me, this phone has arrived just at the right time because the cold weather is behind us and we now can go out and about and explore these amazing landscapes. And getting the physical exercise and enjoying nature is just so good for our well-being. And with the added benefit of taking photographs and being creative, we capture some nice images and we've got something to take home with us to remind us of our day. And that's why I love landscape photography and being out in nature. So I've now arrived at this absolutely beautiful viewpoint. It is the kind of perfect place where you're going to want to get your camera out and just grab a picture. Now, a really, really nice way to do this is to use the grid. Just scroll down to grid and select 3 by 3. Right, so we now have the grid up, and another name for this is the rule of thirds. It's a compositional guideline, essentially, that we can use to help us make really nice looking photos. Normally, the inclination is just to point at the scene and click your picture. If you notice, when you do that, the line of the horizon will probably be right in the middle of your picture. But if we just tilt down to put the horizon on that top line of the rule of thirds, that's going to make it a more interesting image. The way we use the rule of thirds is to try and place areas of interest on those lines, or specifically on the cross of the rule of thirds. So in this case, I've got that cliff and that lake near to those cross sections of the rule of thirds, and then I'm just going to click away and look at all that beautiful golden light now in that bottom left-hand side of the image with the grass and those trees, and it just looks fantastic. I'm really happy with that. I think that's a really nice image, just very easily composed using that rule of thirds. Yes, I'm really happy with that. Right, we've come to the end of the day now, and it's getting a little bit windy, but I don't mind because it's just so beautiful. Look at that sun, just fantastic. I've got this amazing scene down here with these beautiful cliffs, that lake, and I'm just about to capture it on the OnePlus 9 Pro. This time, if I bring the camera up, I think I am going to go for the wide view because it's such a beautiful scene with the sun on the rocks down here and the lake and then that sun setting. I'm getting all of that in with this ultra wide. As you can see, I've got my picture composed with the horizon on the rule of thirds again. I like that. Let's just go ahead and shoot that now. What a great day. I'm having such a good time. Let's have a look at that. Oh, yeah, that's so nice. Some of the grass down here with that golden light on it. The rock looks great. Just really pleased with that. So I've had a great day today. This is exactly why I love landscape photography. That feeling of well-being it gives you, the boost to the mental health is all a part of it. And then I get to go home with that great image that I've just captured using the OnePlus 9 Pro. I hope you've enjoyed it today, picked up a few tips and tricks and seen what you can do with this phone. You can pick yours up at 3.co.uk and I'll hopefully see you again very, very soon. Bye.
So, amazing stuff there from Adam. So as you saw, he took the OnePlus 9 Pro and the Hasselblad camera that's attached to that out and about, done some really phenomenal stuff. Like, I was very impressed. Some of the shots he got there were phenomenal, and as someone who knows what they're doing with the cameras, like, he managed to get phenomenal shots out of that. And the good news is, like he said, it'll be seen as very soon because we actually have Adam here to ask some more questions with, because after seeing that, that was great, but really what I want to know is, you know, that Hasselblad camera, how's that going to work? So we should have Adam on the line. Hello, Adam, can you hear me? Oh, you seem to be a bit quiet. 1 second, we figure this out. Well, this is Adam. I think you're here now. Can you?
We've been having some technical problems, haven't we?
There we go.
I think we're there.
Perfect. So, Adam, you had the OnePlus 9 Pro. First of all, just initial thoughts. I did. You know, taking out the box. Obviously, we saw your unboxing and stuff like that. What did you think?
Yeah, I mean, like I said on the video, it was. It just. I think it immediately feels nice in your hand. It fits your hand very nicely. It's clearly a very nice-looking phone. I like the mirrored finish on it.
Yeah.
But for me, anytime I use any kind of gear to make photographs, it kind of just has to fit into my workflow, essentially. So, because what I try to do when I'm making photographs is it's kind of an expression of something I'm feeling or that I'm seeing to then making the final print. And I need the gear to slot into that without creating any kind of blockage.
All right.
And the OnePlus did that, and it feels like this collaboration with Hasselblad and that photography first intention helps that, or it just felt like that was naturally slotting in to my workflow, which when I was then out and about, it just felt really natural being out with that. I mean, I don't always shoot with a mobile phone, but what they do say about photographers or taking good photographs is that the best camera is the one you have with you.
Yeah, well, perfect. That's kind of it. Like, the best camera is the one you have with you. But you know, like, as a professional photographer, how was your, like, what's your opinion on the OnePlus 9 Pro now that they have this kind of Hasselblad partnership? Like, what's your kind of take on it? What's your overall kind of quick review, if you will, of the camera?
I mean, it's a great camera and it takes lovely photographs. I like the the way you can easily switch between the sort of standard lens and then the wide angle lens, and they are obviously both very high megapixel, which is good. It allows you to make nice prints and stuff. I've got a print I can show you in a minute.
Yep.
But particularly with that wide angle lens, like I said in the video, that's good for landscape photography. And that scene at the end.
Yeah. Oh, I think we've
get that grass in front of me. You wouldn't have been able to do that with a normal lens. So having that wide angle lens to do that made it really nice. And then the color, the camera and sort of feels quite naturally Hasselblad. Obviously, you have the ability to edit the color, but it just comes out the camera really nice. It doesn't require that much editing. But that's the print I've made.
Yeah, that's a phenomenal
of that
photo.
last photograph. I know the video feed might not be the best quality, but it looks really nice. It's really nice and sharp. The color just looks beautiful.
Yeah, that's lovely.
And I would quite happily sell something like that.
Yeah. I mean, can you just show us that again for a quick second, just so we can put you on full screen?
I'll hold it steady for you.
That is absolutely gorgeous. And
it's come out really nicely.
Was that like, because I know photographs and stuff like that, photographers can sometimes have like these big fancy rigs involved and stuff. Was there a big fancy rig? You didn't have any lenses attached or anything? You weren't in pro mode, manually selecting everything?
No, that. I did consider pro mode, but because when you're in the normal mode, it uses the automatic HDR function.
Yeah.
That was really useful in that scene because obviously you've got the sun there, which was very bright.
Yep.
And then this sort of area down here, which is much darker. So just using that standard normal mode with that ultra wide lens, that function just let me capture all of that. It was quite windy. And I mean, landscape photographers use tripod a lot because it allows you to kind of just slow down and get your composition just right.
Yep.
And whilst most of the time with a phone, I'll just obviously stand there and shoot handheld with it. I had this little device here. I think you can get them for about £10. And they just, I mean, you can slot that on top of your tripod and then the phone just kind of locks into there. And then you can just use it like a little tripod. It's really, really handy little device to kind of be able to do like traditional sort of landscape photography with a phone.
I think that's what makes it pretty cool now is like photography. Previously, if you wanted a good camera, it was more of a, I have to go out and spend hundreds of pounds, maybe sometimes thousands of pounds. Yeah. But now what you're seeing with smartphones is, obviously they won't quite be what you'd expect from a professional camera setup. Obviously spending like say £1,000 on a phone that has a really great camera versus spending thousands of pounds on a dedicated camera, you'll get a massive difference there in terms of quality and stuff. But the fact that you can just, that photo that you showed us, for example, is a perfect example of what you can do now on a smartphone. And as you said, you'd be happy to sell that. And just shows you where, smartphones are making these leaps and bounds and stuff. And we can get into the nitty gritty and talk about the sensors and stuff because OnePlus loves their ultra wide this year. But I think it's just a really cool point that now, previously it just used to be the camera that you had was the best camera. But I think for most people now that aren't photographers, it will be their smartphone just hands down has the best camera.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, photography used to be very exclusive because it was just so expensive to get into. But now, with phones like the OnePlus, that we're walking around all the time with really good cameras. And when people ask me what camera I should buy now, I always say, unless your budget is pushing up above £1,000 for a standalone camera, you're much better off just using your phone because they get the pictures they get are so good, and you can do a little bit of editing on them as well. Yeah. And I actually took a selfie with the OnePlus with my family as well when we were out on a day out the other day, and the portrait mode on it for doing selfies is brilliant as well, and it blurs the background out really nicely. And it was my birthday last week as well, and she actually got that picture printed and put it in a frame for me, just like a little It was like a 5x7
nice.
print for that. So, I mean, that looks fantastic as well. And that's all just edited on the phone. And she got it printed out through an online printer. And
That's amazing.
It still looks great. Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, just there's something you said earlier that I just kind of want to follow up on. You says that the camera feels quite Hasselblad-like. So how does, obviously Hasselblad, they, as you mentioned in your video, they are heavy hitters in the camera world. How does that translate to a smartphone? Like, what's the Hasselblad experience, and how is that replicated in a OnePlus phone now?
I think I think part of it is the color profiles that it produces. The app kind of has a similar feel as well.
All right, okay.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm excited to see where that'll go, but it's already, like I say, it has that, the OnePlus Pro 9 has that, it just has that feel that it's made to do photography.
Yeah.
And like I said, for the time I had it, it's just, I've produced that print. It's slotted into making prints and making photographs, and I think part of that is that Hasselblad collaboration and that kind of show of an intent to be a camera tool.
Well, this is going to be like a few years. This partnership is originally slated to last as well.
Yeah.
And, you know, OnePlus have talked quite a lot about it. They've argued a lot about colour and stuff, and they've also gone quite heavily on moon landing stuff, because Hasselblad took the photos of the moon landing and stuff like that. So I mean, it's quite interesting that, you know, OnePlus, I've got the OnePlus 8 Pro here, and I love this device, and I thought it had a great camera. But it's quite interesting that they want to kind of go further than just having a great camera. They want to kind of be...
I mean, the color profile is a big deal, because I think if you are just capturing images straight out of the camera that look great, that's a big deal for a phone, particularly because I think probably the vast majority of people who take pictures on their phone are not doing any editing. So if it's going to look great straight away, that's a really strong positive. I mean, one thing that I didn't talk about in the video is that I think if the app does have editing features within it, and just by pulling your highlights back, pushing your shadows up a little bit, adding in a bit of extra contrast and saturation, is just immediately going to make pictures look better, and it certainly did on this phone as well.
Well, that's one of the questions I kind of wanted to ask, was like, after you take a photo, how would you normally go about the editing process on a smartphone? Because obviously, you know, you could take it back and put it on your computer and load up like expensive, photo editing softwares. But if you're on the go and you just quickly want to post something to your Facebook or Instagram or whatever it is, what's your kind of like editing process there, if there is one at all?
Actually, when I was making that video, I had to cut a little bit out of it for time. But what it was is that, like you say, normally if you were to use like a DSLR or something more professional, like you would have to bring those images back home, then edit them on a computer. The beauty of doing it with a device like the OnePlus or a mobile phone or something is that you can take the image out in the landscape where I like to be, and then you can sit on a log and just edit it at the time. Like I say, bring the highlights back, push the shadows up a bit of contrast, adjust the color if you want to, and it's going to look great. And it's a really nice experience actually producing almost the final image at the scene whilst he's still looking at it. And it's just because one of the things I mentioned in the video there briefly was just the well-being of being out and about in the landscape and enjoying that. And even if you're taking a selfie, you can just do a few little edits and then show people and say, "Look, there you go." And people love that if you've taken a nice shot. I mean, I think that's the future. Like, is just being able to do it at the time and squash down that editing part of the photographic process to do it.
100%, because that's the thing as well, is like, you know, like you were saying, being a photographer, very exclusive, because you couldn't just take a photo, you had to take it back and edit it to get the best from it. But now, like, your smartphone is so powerful, like the Snapdragon 888 processor that's in this is so good that it can all now be done effectively on the device, on the fly.
Yeah,
and,
totally smooth, totally full speed. And one of the blockages I think for people getting into photography sometimes is that when they buy a DSLR or a mirrorless camera, it shoots raw files that then need editing.
Yeah.
So it introduces this whole new editing phase of the photography process that they weren't really expecting.
Yeah.
And you've got to buy software, and you have to have a decent computer, and it can be frustrating. What I like about the OnePlus 9 is that you can still shoot raw files on it.
Yep.
But you can edit them on the phone as well. So it's kind of giving you that pro option.
Yeah.
Whilst maintaining the kind of simplicity of it all.
Yeah, it is really like a kind of best of both world scenario with that, because not many smartphones will shoot in that kind of raw file format. So
No,
I guess like if you want to start out on the OnePlus 9 Pro, just full auto mode, obviously you can get photos like the one you showed us just there. And then if you want to kind of go beyond like things that you showed us like composition and stuff, and you want to get more into the nitty gritty, then you don't have to go out and then buy a professional camera to dip your toe in that water. You can still do it with the smartphone that's in your pocket every day anyway. The device that you'll spend like 2 hours on TikTok on, it's now also this very powerful camera as well, which is pretty cool.
Absolutely. And the 120 hertz screen I think is a big deal as well, because it just makes almost every interaction you have with it just makes it feel better.
Yeah, 100%.
It's difficult to show. It's difficult to show on a video as well, because if you're watching a video, it's usually at like 25 frames a second. But when you've actually got the phone in your hand, the scrolling is just so much smoother, and even just sliding and doing the edits is nice as well. So
that's always a problem we've got. We are obviously a video platform, and we always try and show like, oh, here's this amazing display, and we don't film in a high enough frame rate to pick it up, and people aren't watching it on a phone that's high enough. And it's one of those that I'm like, I wish that you were just here looking at this with your own eyes.
You've got to see it, haven't you? You've got to see it.
It is, because most phones are about 60 hertz, so that's doubling it. And even with the doubled, to 120 hertz refresh rate, the touch response is doubled again to 240 hertz. So it registers your touches a lot quicker as well, which just like it feels faster than any other phone. It's so like it's such a weird thing to pick up on when you use a phone, but when obviously people are using their phones for 2 years, then they're choosing to upgrade. This will feel next level from anything that you had 2 years ago.
It's just gonna have, if you're upgrading from a phone that's a few years old, this is just going to feel so snappy. And quick.
Well, that's always the thing as well, is like, phones are at this point where they're, how much better can they get? And it's wild that phone manufacturers keep having these new ideas to just do more things to a phone, and you're like, but I like, for me, I'm thinking, this is a perfect phone, I don't need anything more, and then something more comes out, and I'm like, well, clearly now I need that. Like,
well, when I saw the specs of this phone and it said that it can shoot 8K video as well. I was thinking, what? in a phone?
Wild.
We're only just starting to see that in kind of high-end prosumer sort of cameras.
Well, it's 8K
just sitting in this.
8K at 30 frames per second, and then 4K at 120 frames per second as well. So like even the 4K, I think, is better than any other smartphone camera that you'll tend to see as well. So you can get that like super fluid animation, or you can get 8K at 30 frames per second, which again is pretty much the best.
I guess that's down to that processor, isn't it?
The Snapdragon 888 processor. We're going to talk about that a little bit more later on, but it is an absolute beast. But it's pretty much hands down the best processor that you can get on any device at this point as well. But just in terms of things like more the phone than photography, I've just got an interesting question, which is, would you recommend any apps for anyone that might want to get into photography, or is looking to get the best from the device, be it maybe like a camera app that goes a little bit further? Like, I know we talked about how that camera app is pretty all encompassing anyway, but would you recommend any apps to maybe edit, or somewhere to publish it, just so that you can effectively get more immersed into the photography side of things, rather than just snap a photo, here it goes on Instagram, which is going to kill the amazing quality of it and stuff. anything that for you makes photography on a smartphone that little bit better?
Yeah, I think the app itself is great. So there are other editing apps that you can use that are out there. If you were to start, I mean, the Lightroom sort of model, the Lightroom ecospace is something I use, and you can that'll sync back to your computer if you take photos on that. But like I said, I don't want any blockages in the photographic process. So I will just stick with the app that's on there for taking photos because like you said, you can shoot raw with that as well. But in terms of any other apps, I think an app I use almost all the time, besides your weather apps, which I need, is one called Photo Pills.
All right.
And I would describe it as the Swiss Army knife for photographers. So it has lots of tools to be able to plan a shoot. It lets you work out exposures. It shows you where the sunset's going to be. And it's not just for photographers.
Yeah.
It can help, it's landscape photographers, sorry. It can help you figure out like focal distances and stuff like that. So it can be really advanced, but it can help you with some of the really simple things as well. It'll show you some of the other compositional tools as well, or rules other than the rule of thirds. So that's quite a handy one. It is a paid app, but it's not much, and it's worthwhile if you once you start getting into photography a little bit.
100%. I mean, if it's get a paid app, which is I'm assuming going to be a few pounds, or a big
Something
expensive
like
camera, it's obviously an easy answer. And that's actually a pretty cool point as well, is that we saw in your video, it's something I picked up on, was when we were looking at you composing one of the shots that actually suggested switching cameras as well. Is that something you found quite useful, or are you more like, you're so in tune with a camera that you know exactly what you're going to do now? Or were you taking some like cues from the OnePlus, I guess?
I do know, I do know what I want in a composition, but I think that because it pops up saying to try the super wide or the ultra wide, I think that's quite useful. And when I did end up using the ultra wide, I just clicked that button and it immediately brings up the ultra wide lens. And I think if you're using this phone for the first time, that's going to be a really handy feature.
Yeah. And
just that little prompt to make you think about another option that the phone can do.
Yeah. Well, I think
really
the cool thing about it as well is that a lot of people will buy phones that have multiple cameras. Like, this is a quad camera device, so you've got 4 different cameras, but they won't often understand what they do and why they're so cool. And I think just that little, like, why don't you try switching to this? It's just a nice way to kind of intro yourself to other options rather than just open the camera app, take the photo and go away, which OnePlus wants that to be a great experience anyway, but you don't go out and buy a Hasselblad camera just to, basically snap a photo then never check it again and walk away. You want to be a bit more kind of immersive and all that stuff, so I think that's pretty cool. But just
absolutely.
One more question I've got is, what was your favourite part about the OnePlus 9 Pro overall? Like, what was the one thing that made you think this phone is kind of it for me?
That Hasselblad name does mean something to me. Yeah. Like, I've been a professional photographer for 3 years now, and then I've done landscape photography since I was very young, and Hasselblad have always been there. And I think in some of the promotion for it, they're talking about it being the camera that took pictures during the moon landing and things, and that definitely means something to me. And like I said, it shows the intention that this is a photography tool, and then it slots into that workflow or that enjoyment of using your phone to take photographs. So it's more of a holistic thing, I guess. I love the screen. The high megapixel sensors are great as well, and it's just an overall really nice package that you're definitely going to be happy with it. Yeah,
it does look like phenomenal. Like, I've just taken it out of the box there, and it is like a fantastic device. And you are also a 3 customer, so just out of interest, what is the reason that you chose 3, like, as a customer? Obviously, we're now kind of working together a little bit, but what was the what was the reason that you picked 3, I guess, is the final question I've got for you.
Yeah, I mean, when we first got in touch, and it looked like we were going to work together, I was really quite pleased that I was a 3 customer, just so I can talk about it like with it actually being authentic. But I've been a 3 customer for a very long time now, and my reason for choosing 3 and staying with 3 as well is that the kind of data first attitude, and because everything I do is on my devices a lot of the time, and or on my phone, and just having, and I do have quite a high data usage, and it's always, and some of the other networks just never offered what I wanted, and it was clear that 3 have always been like that kind of data first idea, and that seems to have continued, and it works everywhere I go as well.
Yeah,
like I mean, I've been at the top of mountains in the Lake District.
Yeah,
literally at like 1,000 meters, and I've still got a good phone signal. So it's really good.
Yeah,
no complaints whatsoever.
There is definitely something to be said for simplicity, and that's what I love, and that's why I'm a 3 customers, because I know what I've got. I've got an unlimited package with unlimited calls, text, and data, and unlimited hotspot, and that's it. That's what I need to know. That's what I've got. There's not going to be some weird usage cap in there. There's not like some weird hotspot cap. It's just the word is unlimited, and it actually means unlimited. So I can use it and never have to worry, which is pretty great. So thank you for coming on, Adam. It has been really interesting to find out, like, you know, is the Hasselblad name basically a promotion, like a sticker on the box, or is it actually leading to something pretty cool? And it seems like it's leading to a very great camera. You, I believe, you're a YouTuber, yes? You have your whole YouTube channel and stuff. What's the best place for people to see the work that you do if they want to see more of like what we saw earlier?
Yeah, I mean, probably the best place to go is to my YouTube channel, which is First Man Photography, which is because my name is Adam. I thought that would be appropriate. My surname is difficult to say and difficult to read, so I just went with First Man Photography. So if you just search that on YouTube, you're bound to come across me, or you can go to my website at firstmanphotography.com and check it out there. But yeah, that's me, really. Easy to find, I guess.
Perfect, definitely. Thank you very much for coming on, Adam. It has been a pleasure, and hopefully we'll see you again soon so we can check out some more, like, I mean, there's always new smartphones coming out, but hopefully we'll see some cool new smartphones and get your insight in those as well. So thank you. So what we're going to do now is we are going to move over a little bit to the OnePlus 9 Pro itself. So I just kind of took it out the box there a little bit, but what we're going to do is show you everything that's actually in the box here, because, you know, we've got obviously our big box here. OnePlus actually has this nice look and feel for their boxes. So they've got this nice long red box, which pretty much stands out everywhere you are. If you look at other smartphones, they're never this tall, they're never this shape. So it's actually pretty nice. You've got in here some little more call-outs to things like Hasselblad. So you've got your little Hasselblad camera specs here and stuff as well, which is really cool. You've got obviously your paperwork, your never settle, which is one of the things that OnePlus said made working with Hasselblad so easy, because they both never settle on the experience of using your smartphone or the experience of having the best camera. But just while I've got the box opened here, we'll take a look at what else we've got. So this is an unorthodox unboxing experience in 2021, because normally what we see is you know, less things in the box. So we don't see things like chargers, we don't see things like headphones, but OnePlus, being OnePlus, they have gone OnePlus. They've done something a little bit different here, and what that has meant is you've got a case in the box, which is something you'd hardly ever see these days. So if you want a nice little protective case just to make sure you don't get that nice back scratched up or anything, then you've got that option there. So nice to have it straight out of the box. If you're looking for a case, then obviously that will kind of do you until you get something that's maybe a little bit more better, but I like it, very slim, minimal profile. And then you've also got things like a cable in the box, a nice USB-C to C cable, which is pretty and red and fancy, but the mythical charger in a box now as well, not something that you see all that often, but this is actually pretty cool, because this isn't just a charger in the box, this is a work charger. And a work charger, the meaning of that has changed a little bit. So originally it meant 30 watts fast charging that you got on the like OnePlus 8 Pro, for example, that we have. But now this is a 65-watt fast charger, and that's pretty cool. And what that effectively means is you can charge your phone a lot faster than most other devices. And it is pretty weird to talk about charging a phone, but it's one of my favourite things about a OnePlus, because most other fast chargers in a box, you know, there'll be fast chargers at 18 watts. This one is 65 watts, and that is ridiculously fast. That is faster than almost any other smartphone. And it's pretty cool the way that OnePlus achieves this. So you do have to use this plug and this cable to get those charging speeds, but they are included in the box, which is obviously the best thing for it. But the reason that OnePlus can basically outdo every other charger in the market is because this device has not one, but two batteries, and those two batteries basically make up the 4,500 milliamp hour battery that we have in the back of the device here. And that's pretty cool, because what that means is, instead of charging one device relatively fast, it's charging two batteries very, very fast as well, and it equates to an amazing experience. Now, in terms of charging, it does get a little bit better as well, because what you can do is you are able to basically go ahead and get yourself a little pre-order promotion right now. So with the pre-order promotion, what you're able to do is get yourself not only the OnePlus 9 Pro, not only 6 months half price on it, you can also grab yourself one of these, which is the OnePlus Warp wireless charger. Speaking of charging, this is a wireless charger that basically, apologies about that, that basically will allow you to top up your phone at 50 watts wirelessly. Now, as I mentioned, other chargers will tend to do wireless charging. Well, other chargers will be about 18 watts cable. Wireless charging is always slightly slower, so this is 50 watts. So that is, you know, like what, 3 times as fast as most other wired chargers. But wireless as a tech, wireless charging tends to be about 10 or 15 watts, and this one is 50. So to give you a bit of like a comparison in terms of numbers, charging with these straight into the device will get you a full charge in under half an hour. Charging with this wireless charger that you get for free right now while stocks last will get you about 75% charge in about 30 minutes as well. So it's pretty much a day's power in half an hour. Well, it used to be a day's power in half an hour. Now it's a day's power in 15 minutes because it's so fast. But now it's a full charge in half an hour. And that's something that you don't really tend to see. And how many times in the past have you gone to, you know, go out somewhere or take your phone somewhere and you'll be like, oh, well, my phone will die. Like, I don't have enough battery to get through the day. No longer a problem here, because should you need to top it up, you can do really well. But let's talk about some of our favourite things other than charging. It's just my personal favourite and something I love talking about. We'll swing around back to the cameras to let you know some of the more spec stuff in here. But one of the things that I love about the OnePlus 9 Pro, like we kind of talked about with Adam, is the 120Hz refresh rate on the display, because it is super fast and super fluid. And again, our cameras cannot pick it up. That's how good it is. But basically what it means is whenever you are using the device, it refreshes twice as fast as any other smartphone that you may have used in the past. So it feels fast, it feels fluid, and it is tremendous. If you're more of a gamer, like OnePlus has this little kind of game booster section, which is pretty cool, and that will help you get the best from the device as well. So what that means is, if you want to, you know, basically mute all other calls and get the best kind of specs reserved for gaming, then you can also do that. So it isn't purely for gaming, but with the specs in here, it does make it an amazing gaming device. So the 120Hz refresh rate display will look phenomenal if you're just, you know, on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, whatever it is, just scrolling along. It'll feel really fast, it'll feel really fluid. And whenever you get a new phone, like, we always want a fast new phone, and that's exactly what you're getting here, is you're getting a new phone with the specs to kind of like make a point, and the display tech that will, you know, keep that feeling as fast and fluid as it actually is as well. So that's really cool. You've also got, as we mentioned, that Snapdragon 888 processor. That means that you have a 5G device, and you have one of the fastest 5G devices you can get your hands on pretty much anywhere, which is a very cool point. You know, it's a faster GPU and better CPU and all those kind of things, but effectively you will experience no slowdowns, no stutters, no lags. Everything will just be fast, fluid, and yeah, I mean, it's simple because it just works, which is obviously really, really great. Also here, we've got things like 8 gigs of RAM on board, so that means we've got tons and tons of power here for whatever it is you want to do. Again, really great for gaming. Doesn't have to be, but if you want it to be, then you've got all that kind of power in there. For everything else, it does the job. You've got a big battery, as mentioned, and you've actually got this cool kind of liquid cooling effect happening here as well. So you've got this little kind of vapor chamber in the device, and what happens is that'll help keep the device cool. So it will move some little liquid around the device to basically make sure that your phone stays up. I mean, it's OnePlus, so what would you expect? Nothing less effectively. We've also got 128 gigs of storage in here, which is really great. You can obviously get more storage if you want to by pre-ordering the higher storage option, but this is just an all-round really nice device. And one of the things I really like this year is that we've got this new design, which looks fantastic. So if we look at previous OnePlus phones, you can tell that it's still got that kind of OnePlus look, it's still got that OnePlus feel, but OnePlus has had this design for a couple of years now. So rather than keeping the same design and not really changing much, with the new Hasselblad, with these new specs, they have gone out and made a statement, and they've kind of done that as well by changing the device to let you know that this is new. This isn't an improvement. This isn't anything like it was last year. It is a new experience all round. And one of my favourite things on this device, and this device is called the Morning Mist option. And with Morning Mist, it's pretty cool because it's got this kind of two-tone effect. So you've got a kind of mirror finish at the bottom here, but as you go up the device, it gets this more cloudy effect happening, which is really cool. So it means that you kind of have this gradient, this two-tone effect, and looks fantastic. Just a nice little touch that OnePlus have done here. But also, let's talk a little bit more about these cameras, because we've got 4. We talked about them in great detail, and what they actually did, and Adam had some really cool stuff to say about them and how they slotted into his experience and his use case as a professional landscape photographer. Like, it was phenomenal. But what we've got here is we have a main 48 megapixel camera. That's the one that when you go to open up the camera, that'll open on your 48 megapixel camera, so you can get some really nice photos from that. The quality will be fantastic. Obviously the white table won't be an interesting shot to take, but you've also got your 50 megapixel ultra wide here, and that is something that OnePlus are very proud of, because this is a really high megapixel count first of all, which kudos to OnePlus, because normally you get a kind of worse off experience on the ultra wide. That is not the case here. So you're getting more within the shot, which is obviously really great, 0.6 times zoom, but you've also got this freeform lens as well, which basically means that on previous devices, even other competitor devices, on the ultra-wide, you maybe got this kind of fisheye effect, which meant that things that were straight in real life kind of had this little kind of like bend to them. Things that were centered were perfect, but as you got towards the edges, things started to take this more oval, rounded shape. With the freeform lens, that doesn't happen. You don't have that experience on a OnePlus 9 Pro, which is very cool. So the photo that you take will be representative of what you're actually seeing in real life, which is actually pretty cool. You've also got things like your 3x telephoto lens. That's an 8 megapixel lens. That can get you up to 30 times zoom. So that gets you way closer to your subject than almost any other camera can do. 10 times zoom is what you see on most other cameras. Flagships have been kind of testing that a little bit more. OnePlus has a really nice iteration of it as well. And just to kind of go through some features of the camera app here, because obviously, as you can see to my left, we have this nice photo, and we mentioned the moon landing and stuff like that, and OnePlus has gone pretty hard on the moon stuff, because OnePlus partnered with Hasselblad. Hasselblad took photos of the moon landing, so all the promotional stuff was basically, here is the moon. But this one I really like, because it's using the moon as a light source as well. Like, as that moon moves around, it is illuminating the things around it, which means that OnePlus sees this as a device that can do some really great nighttime photography. And OnePlus calls it their nightscape mode. So obviously, being in a big studio like this, I cannot take a photo in any kind of darkness, but what it means is if you want to take a nighttime shot, you can do it really well, and OnePlus will use that to illuminate everything around you as well, which is pretty cool. You've also got things like the portrait mode that we mentioned a little bit earlier as well, so that will give you that nice kind of natural background blur. You've got your photo, video, which can go up to 8K at 30 frames per second or 4K at 120 frames per second, and all that can be changed. You've got some nice stabilization options here as well, as OnePlus calls it, super stable. You've got nice slow-mo modes, you've got panoramas and time lapses and all those fun things. But something I want to show you really quickly is in their tilt shift mode, because this is more fun, the tilt shift mode. And what this does is this lets you basically take a photo of something, keep it in focus, but things that would be around it. So if I add in some other elements here of nice OnePlus stuff, what we'll see here is, and I'll just take this photo so you guys can see what I'm on about. What we'll see here is a pretty cool effect. I like that click sound as well, actually, that's very nice. But what we'll see here is a pretty cool effect. So if we have another look, what you'll see is our little charging cable that comes in the box is perfectly in focus, but things in the background have this blur. And as you get closer to subjects and things get further away, it kind of gives you this minimal, tiny look on things as well. But it's just a really nice, cool camera feature which lets you play around with some stuff, and I think makes it really fun as well, because you can use cameras in a bunch of different ways. You can head into pro mode and get really into the nitty-gritty. But for me, I am not a professional photographer. I could never in a million years pull off the stuff that Adam did. So the fact that they've got all these nice little modes that help me get the best from the camera is exactly what I'm looking for. And I am all round just really chuffed with that. But let's talk about the other cameras, because we've mentioned the main two. We've mentioned that 48 megapixel main camera. We've mentioned that 50 megapixel ultra wide with the freeform lens. It's pretty cool. But we've also got two more down here as well. So we've got a nice little depth effect camera, and then we've got a nice little, we don't have a telephoto lens camera, and then we've got a monochrome sensor in here as well, which can help you get some cool artistic shots. And OnePlus have like a bunch of filters built in here as well. They've even changed up their little photography button to feel more Hasselblad-y, but all round it is pretty cool. And something that I really like about OnePlus devices is that they don't have a macro camera, but you do have a macro option here. So super macro is basically letting you get super close to your subject, but keeping it perfectly in focus. So if we use a charger here, what we want to see is that little OnePlus logo up close and in great detail. If we have the super macro on, then we can see it perfectly. If we don't, then we get this kind of blur effect. And this is fine. This is a 48 megapixel camera taking a photo of that OnePlus logo. It is super blurry, but that's perfectly fine, because this is meant to take photos of things that are further away. So my hand is perfectly in focus, for example, because that's at that correct length. But when we switch to that macro lens, you can see there that OnePlus logo is perfectly in shot, and you can see the film that's kind of still on this because it's brand new, straight out of the box, and we haven't even opened it yet. Much clearer than you could here. Like here, it just becomes so blurry that it disappears, whereas here it's in perfect detail, and you can even see the little ribs of where you're supposed to rip it as well. So it's a very, very cool device. It's got lots and lots of nice things about it in terms of the specs, but the software for me is where OnePlus really shine, because OnePlus has their Oxygen OS, it's called. And what Oxygen OS is it's OnePlus's take on Android, because you can buy an Android device from many different manufacturers and they'll all feel like Android, but like a different version of Android. They are still the same. This launches with Android 11. It is amazing, it's fast, it's fluid, it's perfect in pretty much every way. But Oxygen OS goes a little bit further. So as you can see, we've got this kind of customization option in here, and you can do a lot. So canvas mode is pretty cool, because what canvas mode lets you do is change your always on display. Now I'm just going to quickly take a selfie to show you how this works, because this is something really cool. So if I take a lovely selfie of me, and then we head back over to our canvas mode, what I can do is I can select that as my canvas shot. We'll just center it up, and this will make this your lock screen setup. So we're just going to go ahead and preview that and see what we get as the outcome. So what this should do is basically take an outline of my face. So there we go, that's me looking better than it, and show you guys exactly what's happening here. So on the lock screen, on our always on display, we've got that nice outline. When we wake up our display, we've got the photo of me with a nice little bit of blur on the background, and then when we unlock, it snaps into perfect focus as well. So it's really nice to have features like that. You've got things like your ambient display, which is always on. You've got things like horizon light, which will light up the curved AMOLED display. Not as dramatic of a curve as last year, which I quite like. It actually feels really nice, but you can, change those color options if you prefer something a little bit different. But where I think it gets really cool is in the accent colors. So by default, it's this red and black look, but if you want to customize it a little bit more, so let's say we want to lean into the more Hasselblad oranges, we can do that. If we want to change our system icons, because at the moment they are round and now they've changed to orange, we can change those to squares. And then we can change up to different icon packs that we can get from the Play Store as well. So we can basically customize the device entirely, but still have that really nice OnePlus experience as part of that as well, which I really, really enjoy. And you can even go as far as changing the font as well. So customization is quite a big thing because feel the way you want it, and I like it because it means that I can match it to something that most other phones tend to do, or even if you get a snazzy case, if a colour to go along with that, and is that you can switch it off because of this display here. We're going to get some really dark blacks here. So this is some of the darkest black that you'll ever see, which is a weird thing to say. But where you see black on this display, which is pretty much everywhere, the phone is actually switching off that portion of the display, which is quite a cool point. So you're actually saving some power here by doing this as well. Have always on, can basically have exactly what's going on, but if we head in and that more classy look, what we'll see is when we kind of lock the screen, our analog clock appears, and I don't know if the camera's picking it up, but you've got a little thing OnePlus talked about a little bit as well, because with the second hand on the device is have this perfect mix of performance. Displays couldn't do that. Any other AMOLED. So that's one of the nice little things in OnePlus 7 Pro and package. OnePlus where they should be, and then has now caught up in the camera race. But now with the OnePlus 9 Pro, it seems like OnePlus is not stopping there. They're actually trying to exceed in that camera race as well, which is very, very cool. So you can click on the link down below if you want to go ahead and get yours. It is a very nice device. I would highly recommend it. It is definitely shot to the top of the list of my next device, should I be looking anytime soon, and especially with the deal on right now that you do not want to miss out on, because as we mentioned, you are going to get obviously your new OnePlus 9 Pro. We have 6 months half price on selected plans, which, let's face it, if you're going to go OnePlus, especially on the 9 Pro 5G, you're going to want that unlimited 5G data. So 6 months half price is the one you should be going for. And then also we have the very nice offer right now, which is exclusive to 3, where you can go ahead and, this is a while stocks last thing as well, you can go ahead and get yourself the wireless warp charger for free. This is normally something like 70, 80 pounds. You can go ahead and get that completely for free, which is really nice. 50 watt fast charging isn't something that you'll see anywhere else on any other device. So the fact that OnePlus have it makes it pretty cool. And then you also have the OnePlus Buds as well. So the OnePlus Buds are OnePlus's wireless headphones that you can pop into your ear and they sound fantastic. So that's just a sweetener. That deal is while stocks last, so make sure that you're not missing out. Make sure you're clicking on the link down below if you want to find out more. And this is a brand new device. It has only just launched. We saw the announcement, the 23rd of March, so just over a week ago, I think, at this point. And there was lots of stuff talked about at that OnePlus 9 Pro launch event. There was cool stuff when it came to like the cameras. They talked a lot in detail about the cameras, which shows you how seriously they are taking it as well. So lots and lots of cool stuff happening, and we've actually got a little video just to kind of recap the event if you guys are interested to see the OnePlus spin on things. But I loved it. Like, I was enthralled, I was amazed, and I cannot wait. Now that this device is actually out, if you guys had pre-ordered, you should be receiving it soon. If you guys are ordering now, make sure you're doing it super fast so that you're able to get yourself those pre-order goodies that we mentioned, or those, well, I guess pre-orders finished now, those first to get the device goodies. So again, 50-watt fast charger along with your wireless headphones. I don't know the exact cost of all that, but you're making big savings and you're getting some cool new stuff to go along with that. Not even mentioning the 6 months half price, not even mentioning everything that's great about this device. It is one that, if you're interested in, you should definitely be checking out. And it's something I'll be checking out. Now it's out there in the wild, now that, you know, we had Adam on a little bit earlier, now that we've got the professional camera community seriously taking a look at the OnePlus 9 Pro because of that Hasselblad branding, it should be something that we are seeing some phenomenal shots from, and OnePlus have already given it to some professional photographers and created some cool stuff. So for me, this is a device that I cannot wait to check out. But we're going to leave you guys with this little recap of the event. So check it out and we shall see you guys soon. Bye.
Welcome to the OnePlus 9 series launch event.
It's so good to be here to share with you this exciting new partnership. We're finally able to bring the Hasselblad camera from mobile to the OnePlus 9 and 9 Pro.
Our natural color calibration with Hasselblad brings more perceptually accurate colors and one of the largest sensors ever on a smartphone ultra-wide camera. A bigger sensor gives you better imaging quality and lower noise. The OnePlus 9 Pro's Fluid Display 2.0 takes smoothness beyond anything you've ever experienced before.
As for the Dragon, it is still the best one in the kingdom. Snapdragon 888.
Just have a look at everything this incredible display has to offer.
We can agree that our photos are of the exact same camera quality.
It is smart everywhere, letting you answer the code, check the message, or view notifications even when your hands are full. The OnePlus Watch supports more than 110 workout modes.